So I'm Brendan Farrell, Horticulturalist, and I'm working with Mairead, Heritage Officer, Longford County Council, and we're working on the National Biodiversity Action Plan. And in the garden, biodiversity is so important. It's what makes a garden actually, and enriches the garden when you have a wide biodiversity. And the biodiversity is all species, all living organisms, be they mammals, birds, plants, all kinds of things are part of everything. All organisms, fungi, bacteria. And the plants, of course, are something, I suppose, as gardeners that we connect with more than anything else. And a garden is a wonderful place because there's actually no waste in a garden. All natural materials have a cycle. They have the germination, the growth, the emergence from the soil, the growth, the flourishing, and then all the organisms that are depend upon that. And then as you go into the summer and into the autumn, then the falling back and the rejuvenation again in the spring. And now we're in the springtime, so it's that rejuvenation where the earth is, with the sun and the heat, plants are emerging and flourishing so fast. It's a wonderful time. And there is nothing, we consider the garden, I suppose, the crops, the plants, all the crops, and the weeds. And yes, of course, when we grow plants and grow crops, we have to weed. We must weed because our plants would get swamped over. So you have to tend to your crop. And one of the old sayings of plants, the best food for a plant is man's shadow, where the gardener is working and his shadow falls across the crop because he's tending to the crop all the time. But some of the plants, some of the weeds, and what are weeds? Some of the weeds that we think about, and I have to put on my glove now to look at those ones, are, we say, something like nettles. And nettles would be considered a weed. But a weed is really, it's a broad description of a plant. And it describes a plant that you don't want. So a weed is a plant growing where you don't want it. That doesn't mean that it's not of any use. So the nettle, if it's growing in amongst my onions, it's a weed because I don't want it there. But if it's growing around the edges of the garden, near the hedgerow or wherever, and I'm not cropping that area, then it's not a weed. In actual fact, it's a very useful plant to me. So it's all a question of our mentality and our state of mind about our garden, our nature, biodiversity. And so these nettles are going to become the feed for our crops. So we were planting strawberries, we were sowing vegetables, sowing salads, planting potatoes. All crops need nutrients and food. As I say, feed the soil and the plants will feed themselves. But at times you do need to give liquid feeds to things as well. And it's very useful to have them, particularly containers. It's very useful. So you can go off and buy stuff in the shop. But you can buy organic, you can buy liquid seaweed, you can buy products like that. But actually you can make your own as well. You can make your own food. And I'm using the nettles for that purpose. So, nettles grow in rich soil. They grow in soil where there was plenty of organic manure. So if you had hens, for instance, and you had a hen manure thrown out somewhere, that's where the nettles would flourish. They would always grow where there's lovely rich soil. So I'm putting all those nettles into this small barrel here. I'm also using something else, but the nettles on their own would make an excellent feed. Make an excellent feed on their own without anything else. Just put the nettles into a barrel, put plenty of water in there, leave it for 3 weeks, and you have a lovely liquid feed. And I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. But I also have, the nettles are very rich in nitrogen in particular, very, very good to stimulate growth. But we also have this one here, and this one is another, this can be a weed as well. This one here is comfrey. It's Russian comfrey. And comfrey is actually also a herb, a fantastic plant, brilliant plant for bees. When the flowers are on the plant, bees find great food source from the flowering comfrey. But the leaves too are wonderful. So plenty of leaves of comfrey. Comfrey is very rich in potash. And potash is excellent for any plants that have a good root system, that need a good root system. They need potash. Any fruiting plants, such as the strawberries, potatoes, anything like that, they need potash. So lots of comfrey in there. So I'm just going to mix the two up together, the nettles and the comfrey. And then you top that up with water. Put plenty of water in there so that the plants are submerged in the water. And what happens then is that the nutrients that's in those plants' leaves will be distilled into the water. It will work its way into the water. And you leave this mix for about 3 weeks. And then you have your liquid feed. This way it's faster. And you need more water to go into that as well. So that's it. You fill it up with water up to here. Cover it as well. Keep it dark. I'll just put this for a moment. Out of the way here. Cover it over. Even a lid, just a lid over it would do fine. Do that later. But that'll just keep it dark. Fill it up to the top with water and leave it for 3 weeks. And when you come back to it, it will be very smelly and not a particularly nice smell. Quite a pungent smell, but you have wonderful liquid feed. So you can take your can of water, take your can of liquid feed, and you can dilute that. You can add 10 water to 1 can of what's inside here, and you have liquid feed for your plants that are growing. And you can make that all through the summer. Use fresh nettle leaves and fresh comfrey. You don't want to be using ones with flowering or seed heads on them, because in that case you may be adding the seeds of nettles into your crops. But the nettles, when they have no flowers, no seeds on them, they are perfect for use for liquid